Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmad Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. We first of all discuss the final of the World Test Championship, where it's been absolutely crazy now. After losing 4 wickets at stumps, the way South Africa have staged a comeback, it's been remarkable. The partnership between Bellingham and especially when you talk about the way Temba Bavuma has really stayed resilient. Unfortunate that he got out just before lunch. But even on the stroke of lunch, the very last over till lunch, 10 runs were scored and they ended up on 121 for 5 at lunch when of course the teams headed out to the pavilion with a trail of just 91 runs remaining. I think that really tells us that since morning till lunch, the session has belonged to South Africa, losing just 1 wicket but staging a comeback. I said this yesterday on a platform on X, on a space. I said this last night, that South Africa will have to bat out of their skin, and even if they don't get a lead, they get close to 212. Australia will really feel it. And what's happened right now, if you tactically analyze the test match, because they made a couple of changes, now they had makeshift bowlers bowling. That means that Stark, Cummins and Hazelwood are exhausted and they've got to preserve them for the second innings as well. So it's a bit tricky phase now, this one, when you talk about this test match. All the action right now is live on PTV Sports HD and you can catch it there. So far, if I of course talk about the 91 runs remaining, and now of course a bit of rain has delayed the resumption of play as well. That means that overcast conditions are going to come back. So it's absolutely exciting and I'm loving every bit of this test match so far. So we of course discussed this in detail, and like I said, that you need to gauge some of the numbers as well, which really make amends. 39 on 95 deliveries for David Bellingham. He's been absolutely superb. 64 runs partnership with Temba Bavuma, who scored 36 of 84. Now, two schools of thoughts right now persist. One school of thought said that they played exceptionally slow, which I don't believe. I think the way they lost 4 wickets, had they not played the way they survived yesterday, things would have been a lot different. So I tend to disagree on that bit as well. So we talk about that in detail, and then of course we move on. Moving on, we will be discussing the Asia Cup qualifiers as well, where we've got some news to share with you in the second segment, and we of course discuss that in detail, where Pakistan have lost 1-0 to Myanmar. So we'll be giving you all the updates, and the captain made a statement which for me was very ridiculous. He blamed the poor defensive strategy. Now my question is, was the captain not involved in the strategy? Was he not involved in the planning? And I agree that certain quarters have said that you can't expect a team to have a camp 4 or 5 days before and go and win a game. We don't expect that, but certain players are being ignored, and I think selection policy and criteria has got to be a serious question mark right now in the Pakistan Football Federation. So we talk about that in detail as well. Time now to introduce the guest joining us for our cricket segment. First of all is international cricket commentator, broadcaster, presenter, sports expert and fellow anchor Asif Ahmad. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum assalam Ahmad, I'm perfect.
Thank you for joining us. Also joining us is sports expert Malik Usman Ahmad. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, I'm doing well.
Right, so Usman, so far the day of play has certainly to South Africa.
Yeah, certainly 78 runs for 1 wicket. I think South Africa would have taken it at the beginning of the day itself. But I think it's pretty even Stevens, and this could be the second last batting pair. They have Jansen coming next, who can bat a bit. But apart from him, there is Rabada, Keshav. I don't think they're too good in this condition, certainly. So I think it's a tooth and nail fight, very, very close, very, very engaging test match. And it could end up being a battle of 1 innings between these two, as only 90 runs are required to be chased down, and I think South Africa would fancy their chances of taking a slight or slim lead in this first innings, and they would be very confident their tails are up, and with the very less overcast conditions at the beginning of the day, I think South Africa would have fancied themselves, and they did really well in the first session. Even the last over, as you spoke, they hit 2 boundaries, and Bellingham is showing some really gutsy form. And with him, Varane is a very good player as well. I think they could have, that is my opinion, they could have upped the ante a little bit more in a fashion similar to Travis Head innings. They could have played a bit more aggressive. I think they could have eaten up into this deficit a bit more. But all in all, I think South Africa would be happy. Until last night, I think Australia was thinking that they were in a better position. But I think now South Africa would fancy themselves, because there is very less deficit to be covered up. And with the form Bellingham is in, I think they should cover it up, or at least take a slim lead.
And I think psychologically, once you've got a trail of less than 100, 100 is a psychological figure. That means, and I was listening to the commentators, Usman, who categorically mentioned that South Africa realized that 212 is something they're aiming for, not 300. So that really, gives them a chance to play session by session.
Yeah, they must be thinking in that manner because I was listening to the press conference yesterday. They said that we wanted to schedule out Australia for 160. I thought that statement was slightly ridiculous. Australia played really well, and it also showed that if a ball gets older slightly, there are runs on this pitch. It's not that it is hell for the batsman. You saw how Webster played yesterday, and he did really well, scoring good 70. I think Smith threw away his wicket, giving wicket to Makram on this pitch. I think that was murderous for, on his part. But all in all, we saw how South Africa was batting today in the morning. They had shots and they were getting runs. There are value for shots on this pitch, and you get boundaries if you hit some really good shots. And that is where I think South Africa missed the train yesterday. They just did not show up a fight against the new ball, against the likes of the Australian great trios. But had they shown a bit of grit and could have ended up playing some overs and got some runs, I think South Africa would have fancied a much bigger lead in this first inning. But as you said just now, that I think they are targeting 212 so that they end up at least even Stevens and make it a battle between one innings in this test match.
Absolutely. Asif Ahmed, I think before lunch it has clearly belonged to South Africa. The way they've covered most of the runs, I mean, being 30 for 4 a day before and ending up with a trail of just 91 runs remaining, going for 212 is something remarkable with that 64-run partnership between them.
Well, Ahmed, first of all, we guys were discussing yesterday that Australia couldn't go towards 300. What happened actually, if you see that we are just watching, the way Steven Smith got out, that was a poor shot selection, and we do not expect these kind of shots from a player like Steven Smith. That he was playing against an off spinner, Makram, and Makram is a part-time bowler. He bowled only 2 overs, and he threw his wicket. So I think that was a mistake from the Steven Smith. And then Alex Carey, come on, Alex Carey, he was playing so nicely. Each and everything was perfect. He was handling so well to the left-arm spinner Keshav Maharaj. What went wrong actually? He went for a reverse sweep, and that wasn't a good idea on that time, that you should spend some time over the pitch. So if Alex Carey and Steven Smith stayed and they should have lingered on their innings, I think that Australia could have made easily 207, 280. Even then, 212, as you guys said that, and Usman Bhai was talking about, that the way Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, they bowled last night, I mean in the last evening, that was amazing. And they have targeted with the new ball, the South African batter, especially Makram, and Sherazi Sab shared one stat with us that Makram and Usman Khaja, they were the opening batters now who got out on duck. So the same problem with the South African batters, that they didn't realize that they would have to stay on the pitch. And in your intro, you said that the one school of thought is saying that Bavuma and Bedingham, why they didn't play fast, why they were so much defensive. I think then I could only say that they do not understand that what's going on in this the final of the World Test Championship, where you lost 4 wickets. Definitely you'll go for a partnership. You don't go for to make some quick runs. You don't need runs. You'd have to say wicket and first target, as you said, 212. There is no need to go and don't think about any sort of lead. Yes, 212, then your lead 50, 60 runs, 70 runs, then it would make pressure on the opposition.
Well, Asif, this has to be a very tactical move now. Rain has halted play so far, but the fact remains that what's going to happen is overcast conditions are going to hit in, and the weather did, already forecast that it will be cloudy in the later part of the day today. So that session really mattered. So I think South Africa realized it as well. Play has just resumed. We'll give you live actions courtesy of PTV Sports as well. What a fantastic box there. Matthew Hayden, Hashim Amla, and the great Nasir Hussain. So I think fantastic. We've got that trio in there as well. The commentary has just been amazing in this test match. So it starts once again. That means that the cloud cover has really given respite. But do you think, Asif, South Africa realized that these 91 runs now need to be scored at a very brisk pace?
Yes, I agree with you. See, that when we talk about the Australian bowling lineup, as Usman Bhai was mentioning, that they do realize that they're coming up with 3 fast bowlers. There's Josh Hazelwood, And look at the Timber Bavuma, the way he was sitting in the dugout.
How relaxed he is.
Well, see, Ahmad, Josh Hazelwood, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark, then Cameron Green, they have a very good bowling lineup. I think that they will definitely try to restrict South Africa under 200. Now they will try to get a wicket.
But I think this is the partnership. This partnership between Varane and Bellingham has got to go for a 50 runs at least.
Yes, this
At least a 50 runs.
the same thing with Webster and Steve Smith. The way they played, they made a good partnership. And Webster, once again, I was talking about his abilities. Only 3 tests, but on a very crucial time, in a very big game, he performed for his team. This is called confidence. This is called your enthusiasm. That rest of the important players, the premier players, they didn't perform well. Doesn't matter. This is my 4th test. I will write my name in the history with my performances. So he played a very stunning knock, 72. And then Usman bhai, see, the problem is that once again, if South Africa couldn't manage to score 212, then the question is 4-day, and we guys were talking about Keshav Maharaj. Then there won't be any need of Keshav Maharaj.
No, I think both sides playing a spinner signifies that both of them realize that it's going to go till day 4 and 5. Yes, Usman.
That is true. I agree with you. And looking at the history of Lord's pitch, I think spinner will always have a role to play, especially in the second innings. They have Nathan Lyon, and South Africa has Keshav Maharaj. And nobody is expecting the spinners to do wonders in the first innings, as we saw when Australia was batting, and likewise for when South Africa is batting. But I need to point out one thing here. If Alex Carey is playing a reverse sweep against a spinner, it shows that there are runs on this pitch. It's not that it's hell for the batsman. And that is what I have been stating since yesterday as well. If you spend some time and if you can survive the new ball somehow, there are runs. I think that is the reason the turning point in this test match could be Travis Head getting out cheaply yesterday. You have to attack the ball which is at least 20 overs old. That is where South Africa is lacking. I have a difference of opinion with Asif bhai. I think slightly quicker runs were needed by South Africa, especially when you know that there are conditions that would not be favoring the batsman in the later half of the day today. And that is how you actually plan test match. It's not always that you have to play according to what you think, because the conditions change, and that is why Australia is the pinnacle of, test match is the pinnacle of cricket. And South Africa, I think, missed a slight trick here, but so far so good for them that they lost just 1 wicket for 78 runs. I think they would take that as well. But if there is some moisture in this pitch and the overcount conditions persist throughout the day, I think with the likes of Hazelwood, Cummins and Stark, it will get really, really difficult for the for the South Africans. And Australia do have Webster to bowl. Green might not bowl. That is where they are handicapped. But Webster is a handful of a bowler, bowling seam up. So I think Australia and South Africa are in balance as we speak, and a good partnership now with Varane and Bellingham, at least for 30-40 runs. I think that would put the pressure on Australia, and then they will try to do things which are indifferent for them going into a test match, or how they play test cricket, and that is where South Africa can get an edge over them. But so far I think both teams would be slightly happy and slightly sad that they could have taken advantage for the period that has been spent in this test match.
Well, the interesting factor still remains, gentlemen, that the second innings is going to be a very different than the first innings. What we need to understand is somebody like Usman Khwaja realizes he's not scored in the first innings. That's going to play on the back of his mind as well. Then again, Steve Smith and Joe Webster have been the only notable performance in between. If that doesn't happen, that innings, somebody else has to step up. So Usman, it's going to be a very different second innings. And I think being 30 for 4 and taking the test match to a second innings against mighty Australians is a success itself.
It was likewise for Australia as well. So the new ball was doing the talk, and that is where South Africa would be feeling slightly disappointing, that if they actually wanted to get Australia out for 160 and they score 212, I think 60-70 runs in the first innings is a lot of runs that they have conceded. That is according to Rabada, as he was speaking yesterday. So I think I still believe it is going to be a test match of second innings. It will be a one innings shootout between these two teams, because second innings would be very, very different. If both the teams have picked up a spinner, we can think about the mindset that they are going through. That means they expect spin to play a part in the second innings, and that means the ball will not seam and swing around miles in the second inning as well. So it will be far more even Stevens between the battle between bat and ball, and that is where it is going to be very exciting, and that is where I see the players like Travis Head, Stephen Smith doing a lot of damage to this South African bowler, which I think is pretty one-dimensional.
Well, certainly. Well, Asif Ahmed?
Well, see, as Usman bhai, first of all, see, the way Alex Carey got out, that he went for a reverse sweep, what does it mean? That he was overconfident, he was making runs, playing sweep shots, playing some cover drives. He was okay. There wasn't any need to make some quick runs, because the Australian opening batters, or you say the top order, failed. And now that he didn't take responsibility, to be very honest, that the Australian management and the think tank, they must be looking towards that as well, that was a crucial time. And Australia could have scored 250, 60 if Alex Carey didn't have played that shot first. Secondly, yes.
I'm just saying that I think and I believe Rickleton was that one candidate. I thought he was playing tremendously well. Unfortunate the way he got out was just absurd. I think that was a nothing delivery outside off stump.
Well, agree once again. See that this is all about the Test cricket. Is that if you're playing on the merit,
and know where your off stump is. Simple as that. Yeah, simple as that.
Yeah, this is the cricketing
but
terms.
We have to realize that for quite some time now. Let's be honest. South Africa have had the same problem as us. Too much of franchise cricket dominance has destroyed Test cricket over there as well. Too many talented players who I thought would have been great for Test cricket. Quinton de Kock, David Miller, Hendrik Klaassen, he's just retired. I'm not completely going to say that, a Test cricketer, but the fact is that he would have been great with the kind of style of play he has.
Van der Dusen.
Yeah, Van Dusen is one of my favorite players in South Africa. The fact is that after Faf, du Plessis, nobody has really stepped up as being the aggressor middle order batter in Test cricket for South Africa. I did a bit of research last night, Asif Ahmed, and I came up with a couple of names that have done tremendously well in their domestic circuit. One name is Jordan Herman. He's a left-handed middle order batsman who plays for Warriors in their domestic season, and in 14 innings this season he scored 602 runs in the middle order with an average of 43. Career best, he's played about 29 first-class matches, and he's got an average of 53. He scored more than 1900 runs with a top score of 187. So there are still people in the structure who can come up and raise their hand that we're gonna play for this middle order. But unfortunately, it's the same problem over there between the cricket board, the players, and franchise in T20 cricket.
Well, Ahmad, don't you think that they have their own mantra, and their mantra is to give time player in the domestic circuit, at least play 50, 60 games, and then we will consider you for our national team. I mean, this is what's going on in last 10, 20 years, and recent example of the Webster, that he played more than 100 first-class games. So one thing. Secondly, that now we have baseball approach, we have Akiball approach, we have different approaches in the cricket, that when you're playing your home series, though it's the final of World Test Championship, and even I have heard to Nasir Hussain the way Bavuma was playing, he was appreciating that in the crucial time you can't play, and you cannot go for big shots. You just calm down and you just show your class, that's it. Because you should play according to the conditions, that what's going on. And if you've lost already 4 or 5 wickets, the pressure is on your team, and you're the skipper. Definitely you will try to play till the last delivery, till the last moment. So that was the trick missed by the Bavuma. And same I talk about this Stephen Smith and the Alex Carey. They made mistakes, and yes, it reflects when you are playing plenty of T20 cricket, and it shows that you are playing even Test cricket, but your mindset is the same, that go and play fairy shots.
Absolutely, and I think at one point you have to. Bavuma did that before he got out. He hit 2 beautiful shots over extra cover. So I think that tent of aggression and what we saw was there as well. But still, I think a long way to go. 90 runs is still a long way to go against. But like I said, Usman, Australia are at one point. They've gone for makeshift bowlers now. So obviously the trio is a bit exhausted. They've got a ball in the second innings as well. So I think this is a part where Nathan Lyon plays a very important role for Australia.
See, what I think is that they were given a break, and then there was the lunch break. So certainly after lunch break, those three trios are going to come back. And having a part-time bowler is actually not a bad thing to do, because he will be mighty inconsistent, and that gives an edge. As the batsman can lose concentration, give away his wicket, just like what Stephen Smith did yesterday. So having a part-timer, sorry, just doesn't show that the trio has actually got tired or something. I don't agree with that. but having a part-timer can actually have a trick out of your hat, and that could bring a surprise for a batsman batting on the batting end. So having Lyon, he will certainly have a couple of overs, but he is a conventional world-class bowler. So you are expecting him to deliver some world-class deliveries as well. So the batsman is not going to lose too much consideration. And to be very fair, I don't think this pitch is assisting spinners that much. It is only if you play a rash shot that you can get out. You saw how Steven Smith did yesterday, and that is what Alex Carey actually played too aggressively. That playing reverse in a test match is too aggressive. But I don't mind those things actually. To be very fair, I think you need to have a batsman who can actually up the ante, and that can surprise the opposition, and that can confuse and make them go towards their plan B, C or D. And if you're playing in one way or in one conventional style, I think that also gives an opportunity to the opposition captain to bring out his plan and execute as he had planned.
Right, that being said, South Africa have just lost a wicket. Ryan is now gone. He's been caught leg before by Pat Cummins. That's just 6 wicket down now on 126. And of course, it was a huge appeal given not out. And of course, they collided as they were running as well. This is of course the live images on your screen. Of course, shuffled back across the line, and then of course they took a review with all 3 reds. That means that it's out. So I think the captain has done the job. That was what was needed, but still Bedingham now is going to have that weight, but Jansen can bat as well. So still lot in this test match. Thank you very much Asif Ahmad and Malik Usman Ahmad for joining us. On that note, we take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sports Extra. Now we discuss the Asian qualifiers, and joining us in studios is the team manager of the Pakistan national football team, also happens to be a fellow anchor and an expert here on PTV World as well, Syed Owais. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam, Ahmad bhai, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you for joining us. Disappointing loss, 1-0 of course. What would you like to highlight about the game first?
Ahmad bhai, it was first of all, thank you to the Myanmar crowd, because it was a new place for the Pakistan team. And if you just talk about the camp, because we had a short camp, not that pretty long camp, what was planned actually for this game. Because if you just talk about our group, where we have to face Afghanistan, Myanmar, and we had to face Syria, where we played against Syria in Saudi, the results were not in our favor. But the players, I mean, the part of, I would say, how much time period we got a camp, I mean, the players had done a superb job against Syria, because Syria again, they're top ranked team. I mean, if you just rate them in the world, I mean, they rank around 30 or 50s. So they're one of the top teams in the world, and they have got their own league. They have got their players playing around across the globe. So they have more experience as compared to Pakistan team. Same when you travel to Myanmar, we went there to play the Asia Cup qualifiers. The match unfortunately was to happen in Pakistan because it was our home game, but unfortunately due to that scenario of Pakistan and India, so it was shifted to Myanmar, where we had to play there on the 10th of this month. Pakistan, I would say we did lose by 1-0, but it was a game of nerves, because again, we don't have many friendly matches in Pakistan to organize before playing this kind of pressure matches. Even there were no leagues in Pakistan where you can hunt for new players. But with limited resources, our players have done a fabulous job. I mean, 1-0 loss for me was not a loss, because if you just see the second half, first half, I remember there's a story going on everywhere around the kind of football community that it was offside goal, but unfortunately there was no VR, so we could not take a VR appeal over there. But if you just
but honestly, what was it? Because you had first-hand experience, was it an offside?
It was an offside, because I mean, I'll tell you that it was an offside. Even our players, specifically the captain, even spoke to the referee. But it's unfortunate. I would say it's part of the game. Obviously, the referee's decision is the final decision which was made. But in the second half, if I just talk about, Pakistan played more attacking cricket, because if you talk about the possession, we had
Football,
around 75% possession. Even hit on the target, I would say 3 to 4 targets were hit perfectly by the Pakistani players. But unfortunately, results did not go our batter. But I know obviously the Pakistani community, the way they love football, they have been seeing, they want a result for Pakistan football. But if I just talk about the journey what Pakistan had from the World Cup qualifiers till now, I mean, in the Asia Cup qualifiers, we played some giants. I mean, you need to be frank about it. Saudi, they're the ones who almost play the World Cups. I mean, you talk about Jordan, where we played against Jordan, they have qualified for the World Cup. Tajikistan, again, one of the top teams. So we played, I would say, mighty teams in our World Cup qualifiers, which actually the experience the Pakistan players did gain. And now when you talk about the Asia Cup qualifiers, I know the results have not been in our favor, but again, the experience counts a lot for us.
Absolutely. Away game is always a difficult one. And obviously, I think the question right now, Owais, arises is with the coach as well. A lot of quarters have claimed that, we've not given him enough resources to build a team. And this is probably the right time for the PFF to invest in a foreign technical director as well, someone who can give direction to the Pakistan Football Federation.
See, when you just talk about Pakistan football, specifically with the sponsors, when you talk about to the general public, I mean, that's what they say. We just need a right direction. And having elected president after so many years, and he looks very positive, he looks very committed. And obviously, I see that inshallah you'll have a positive direction over here, whether if it's a technical director, if you talk, because that's a important seat, because you need someone who understands the game properly, and it would be a really important seat to see on who comes in it. And when you talk about Pakistan football, again, I know everyone speaks about a league in Pakistan, for example, replicate of Pakistan Super League. But when you just go deep into the Pakistan football, I say that, or the coach, what he has a mindset, he says that we don't need to have a league system over here. We need to have a divisional league where you can have regulations, where you can have regulatory, like for instance, two teams they go to the other group, two teams they just demote to the other group. So we can have that for 1 or 2 years, so where we groom the Pakistani players. Because come on, let's be frank, if we have a Pakistan Super League kind of a league, I know many of them won't like it, but we need to understand the reality. You are hunting for new players of Pakistan. Unfortunately, I know it would be like 5 or 6 players would be foreigners, only 4 players from Pakistan in a league, and that won't give you the fruit what Pakistan needs. I mean, I know it will go brilliantly for 3 to 4 years. Again, where would we stand? We need someone in the districts. We need a divisional kind of a league where we can promote more Pakistani players, have more Pakistani players, have a foreign coach in it. Assistant coach can be Pakistani, so he can groom himself, and we can see Pakistan on the football map. I know, again, I'm telling, results have not been in our way, but one thing, the World Cup qualifiers or the Asia Cup qualifiers, now Pakistan is known on the FIFA map. I remember there had been like a long period where you did not have a proper federation, and even the coach, once he told me, he said, Owais, I went to a meeting and there was a map, and they did highlight that I said I'm from Pakistan, and they said, is Pakistan on the FIFA map? I said, yes, we are there and we'll show it to you. And now that is shown. In how terms? When the World Cup qualifiers was played around Asia, if you talk about the number of attendance, it's a record. Pakistan had the record number of attendance watching that match against Saudi. It was 21 or 20,000 capacity crowd. Same when we played against Jordan here, you had around 19,000 crowds. So that was the most in Asia to watch that match. So Pakistan, slow and steady, I would say Pakistan is getting on the track.
Well, the bigger question right now, because the captain immediately after the match in a press conference blamed the poor defensive strategy to be one of the causes of losing this game. Now the question seriously arises, because it becomes a ridiculous comment that he's made, that was he not involved in the planning and execution of those strategies?
See, obviously, when you talk about sports and when you talk about the international levels, even if it's cricket or football, definitely the captain, I would say, his decision makes a lot impact, because obviously he's there, what formations you play, he's there to speak about the formations, if it's a defense formation, if it's a forward, what role they have to play, whether they have to go back, play on both sides, the middle, specifically I would say the defense, how tactically they need to be used, what player they need to mark. So they're everything. I mean, they speak to the coach, he's there in the meetings, he speaks, I mean. But I told you, like, it's about, unfortunately, if you just talk about Myanmar, I know people have been speaking about that game specifically. Myanmar has got their own league it's a small country, far behind Pakistan in football. Again, I would say they have got their own league. Unfortunately, we don't have a league system over here where you can hunt for new players. I mean, it's obviously when you hunt for new players, you hunt for new faces, you can get many strong backup players. It's about the backup players too. It's about the number of days, how a camp is organized, because if you have a long camp where you can have more players included in it and you can just practice on, and the results would be different. For example, when we went to play against Syria in Saudi Arabia, unfortunately due to, it was an Umrah season, so we got our visas late. The game what we played against Syria with limited resources, with limited number of days of camp, I literally believe if we could have more camp.
But there is a
in Saudi
serious question mark on the selection criteria and policy of the players. There is so much talent in Pakistan. There is no doubt. You go to Balochistan, you go up north, even Karachi, immense talent in Sindh, everywhere. But particularly, I see a lot of football talent in Balochistan. There are still certain players which the football community in Pakistan, which is very well informed, they talk about. They take those names that these players should be playing for a Pakistan national team.
See, Ahmad bhai, because I see two things, I mean, because I'm a part of the Pakistan national team and I'm part of the Pakistan street share team. Obviously, you're aware of it because we do talent hunt all across Pakistan for under 17. You have got some fabulous talent in Pakistan. I was literally, because as an ex-cricketer, I was actually shocked to hear that if you talk about football, 70% people watch football in Pakistan. The young generation are more to football, not to cricket. And it's if you just talk about Asia, cricket is, heart of Asian teams. Issue is that you just have one premium tournament in the country, that's your Premier League, which is actually when or you have got your regional. Unfortunately, there's no regional league. Once in a blue moon, you have a Premier, not a Premier League, I would say, departments, they play against each other, whether if it's a national game, there are no many tournaments. The biggest issue what Pakistan currently faces is that when you talk about backup players, you're talking about the hunting of players. In Pakistan, it's unfortunate to say many of your players, they don't meet the 90-minute criteria. They don't play 90 minutes game. In Pakistan, you have got small games which are like 30 minutes or 40 minutes. That's it. Not 40 30 minutes, I would say. 60-minute game. You don't have a 90-minute game plan. Secondly, if you talk about the players representing themselves into the international levels at the young age, specifically when you talk about 17, 15 years of age or even 12 years of age, tell me how many players are included into that sports facilities where they have got every time to groom themselves. You don't have that. I know there's football being played a lot in Pakistan. People do talk about players, but again, I say that, tell me the players who have, if I talk about scouting, when I talk about any player, for example, any of the Pakistani player that I just want to watch his last list matches, how he has performed in his club, there is nothing on the track record, there is nothing on the YouTube, there's nothing on the online scouting system. That we need to bring it up so we can have analysis what player is doing, where he's playing. That's not in Pakistan. We need to get that things back into the track. And specifically when I talk about the regional football, when you talk about the departmental football, tournaments need to be organized. See, when you have more tournaments, obviously there will be new faces coming up. You'll see more football. You can just get the players from there. Last time I remember the head coach came for the Challenges Cup over here in Pakistan. He got 6 players from that who are representing Pakistan right now. If it's a continuous process, that means you can have the whole team from Pakistan. I know many of them do talk about the diaspora players coming out and representing Pakistan. We need to understand two things. I know our players are capable, everything is that. But again, they play 90 minutes game. They're regular into football. They are regular into exercises. They're regular into club football. Unfortunately, we don't have this, but I hope the new body coming up, elected body, they have got great plans. I mean, they're positive about football, and we see Pakistan back on the track.
Certainly we do. Thank you very much, Syed Owais, for joining us. One thing is for sure that there's potential talent. All we need to do is believe in the process, and a lot of time is certainly still required because there's been so much inconsistency. For a long time we haven't seen an elected body, and now we've got elected representatives taking over the PFF, and hopefully certain decisions start to make sense and bear us fruits in the time to come as well. That's all we have time for Sports Extra. From me and the entire team, it's goodbye for now.